Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Windows Server Core 2022 tips and tricks. Today I wanted to talk about DHCP, so the subject that I was supposed to do, and without any further ado I'm gonna show you the environment that we have and why are we gonna be working on also this environment with GUI. So I will of course work on PowerShell, so the commands that I'm gonna be typing are gonna be basically with PowerShell, so it's like working on a Windows Server core. First we are gonna authorize install here the DHCP server and authorize it with DC. And after that I'm gonna do the same thing on Windows Server core. So I'm gonna basically copy paste all the commands that I'm gonna use here. So we're gonna copycat a little bit, but first I wanted to do it in a GUI environment, so you will see every step that is taken and how it actually looks in the DHCP. So I'm just gonna open the DHCP once it's installed, and we are gonna take a look upon the changes that are gonna be taken while all the commands are being typed. It's easier thanks to that. Easier to visualize some stuff. And after that we're gonna go to Windows Server Core and do all the stuff in the same way. Okay, so first of all, this server, this is also Windows Server 2022 Standard Edition Evaluation. This one is not joined to the domain, so the first thing we need to do is to, of course, join the domain here in order for everything to work as it should. So we're gonna join the domain. I'm just gonna change here to we'll need to wait a moment. Okay, so it's getting started. As always, some updates have been on the way. And there we go. Okay, so now we need to go to our Windows Server Core, and actually I'm just gonna enlarge this, and we need to go first of all control panel. Okay, we're gonna go here, administrative tools, and we will check users and computers, of course. And let's go here. I will need to create new organizational unit. Just call it DHCP. I'm gonna go here, and here's my server. I'm gonna move it. And one more thing that we should actually check, because that's quite important, because this is my an admin account for my domain. So I'm gonna check in the properties if this okay, so this account is a member of administrators, domain users, but we need to add one more group. Let's take a look. Enterprise admins. So we're gonna add this group as well. Okay. Let's check DNS just in case. Forward lookup zone. Okay, so my server is here, it's fine. The same for reverse lookup zone. It's here, it's fine. Fine. Okay, so everything is like it should be. Right, so the server is in the domain. So now we can actually start installing DHCP. Just gonna start those services as well. So let's open PowerShell and let's start the work. Okay, so first of all we will install DHCP. I'm gonna pause the video for a moment until the installation is finished. Okay, so as you can see, everything has succeeded. Restart is not needed here. But one thing that I wanted to mention, so after the DHCP feature is installed, let's wait a moment. So we got it here, and of course here we got in the notifications we need to complete the DHCP configuration. So I just wanted to visualize what kind of stuff we need to actually install here in PowerShell with commands that you would normally do just by clicking here. So first of all, if we would go here in the configuration of DHCP, the first thing that needs to be configured is the delegation of groups of DHCP administrators and DHCP users. So you need to create those two groups with PowerShell. So that's the first thing. And of course the second thing is gonna be authorization of the DHCP server in your domain controller. So first of all, let's actually create those two groups, so administrators and users. So it's gonna look like this. We're gonna use Add-DhcpServerSecurityGroup, and we need to specify for which server we are adding those groups. So this is the name of this server, of course. So let's specify that. Okay. And now while this has been done, we're gonna do a quick restart. Okay, now we're back. So we're not gonna use the local administrative account. We're gonna log into domain because we are part of the domain now, and so we need to log in. I'm gonna use, of course, the admin account here, so administrator of the domain. Okay, now let's actually open Server Manager. gonna close this down just for better visualization of everything like previously. Let's wait a moment until everything loads. Okay, I'm just gonna put all the services here. Start the service. Okay, let's check manageability, online data, retrieval, failure. Okay, I'm just gonna wait until all of this starts. Alright, so services are up. Now let's actually open PowerShell as an administrator, if we actually can. Okay. And now what we are gonna do, we are gonna authorize this DHCP server in our domain controller. Okay, so you can do it using two different methods. So either you will use NetSH, or you can use just basic PowerShell. So if you're gonna use NetSH, this is what you should use. So NetSH DHCP server, and then you're specifying the name of the server and the IP address of the server that needs to be authorized in your domain. Or using PowerShell, you are gonna use Add-DhcpServerInDC, specifying the DnsName, specifying the IP address. So either this or this. I'm gonna use NetSH. Let's use NetSH. I'm just gonna check if the IP address is fine. It's fine. Okay, so adding the server. So the server has been added. So now we can actually, instead of add, we're gonna use get DHCP server InDC. So now we can check our DHCP servers that have been authorized in our domain. So as you can see, this is my server and it's being authorized, so it's listed. Of course, I couldn't do it if I wasn't on, first of all, my admin account, and second of all, I wasn't in domain. So if I tried to do the same thing on my local account from the administrative account, wouldn't work. So bear in mind, because some people had some kind of problems with adding their DHCP servers into domain, authorizing them. So just remember, your admin account, I think, should be a part of enterprise admin group. That's the first thing. Second of all, you need to be logged in on this account to perform this correctly. Okay, and one more thing, a small note that I have made. DHCP servers on domain controllers are authorized in Active Directory automatically. So this is not a domain controller, this is just a plain server, so we needed to authorize it manually. But if it was on a domain controller, it should be authorized automatically. Okay, so next we are gonna create, of course, some scopes. So I'm just gonna pull up DHCP here. So maybe, okay, so maybe we'll just, since we have authorized it, we don't need to be on the admin account, so let's sign out. We're gonna change to the local account again. Okay. Alright, so let's open our DHCP. Okay, so let's go here. I will just start the service. Okay. So as you can see, we don't have basically anything configured here. So we have no scopes configured. So I'm just gonna turn it off for now. And let's go to PowerShell again. And we're gonna create our first scope. So it's gonna be something like this. So basically you're using Add-DhcpServer for scope, you're specifying the name of the scope, which is internal. So you're specifying the range, so basically for me it's going to be from 20 to 30, just basic range. SubnetMask you need to specify here, and the basic description for your scope, which is going to be in my case internal network DHCP. So this is how it looks. Of course, as you can see, still here in the notifications, I have complete DHCP configuration. It's still here, despite creating those two things that I told before. So I created the administrative and user groups for DHCP with PowerShell, and I also authorized the DHCP server. But this notification is still here. If you want to get rid of this, you just need to go here to complete the DHCP configuration. You need to just go for next. I'm just gonna specify here admin. And when I'm gonna do commit, as you can see, it says here that basically all of those things have been done. So you got here that this is done, this is failed, doesn't matter because the server has been authorized and those groups have been created as well. So just basically it's just confused. Okay, so if we go here again to the tools, let's go to DHCP. Let's open this. Okay, so we have here our scope. We got our scope, internal scope, of course, and now we should get our scope's ID, because this is the thing that we are gonna be using, so it's gonna be helpful for us. So get DHCP server scope statistics, and we are specifying the name of the server. So basically this is my scope ID that I'm gonna be using. Okay, so next we are gonna configure DHCP options for our scope, because we can configure basically many options. As you can see here, if you go to scope options, you got different options that you can configure. You got different options that you can configure. So router, time server, name server, DNS server, and so on and so on, of course. So you can specify quite a lot of those options for your scope or for your server, depending which you want to specify. So first of all, let's specify some options for our scope. So if we want to specify options for the scope, we are going to be using the following command. So DHCP server for option value. So computer name, we're specifying the computer name, ScopeId. So that's why I wanted to get the ScopeId. DNS server, of course, I'm specifying the domain controller as my DNS server, DNS domain. So this is my domain and my router. So these are the options that I want to have specified in my scope. So I'm gonna go and open the DHCP server once again. Maybe if I can go here. Let's refresh. Okay, let's go to Tools, DHCP once again. All tasks, let's restart DHCP server. Okay, so of course you can do the restart from PowerShell as well. You just need to type like restart the service and then service name, and you can restart it from PowerShell as well. I just did it to do it faster. So as you can see, the scopes are up, everything is fine. Here's my scope, and if we go to options, of course I have those options specified that I basically specified here. So I got the DNS server. Okay, so I got the router, DNS servers, and domain name. So those three options are specified for my scope. So now it's time to actually add a lease. So of course we want to have a lease here. So let's add a computer lease. So for that we are gonna change okay, so maybe we'll hold on for now with the lease. We'll hold on with the lease because actually I want my domain controller to specify the lease. So for now we're just gonna hold with that. So what's next? Let me check in my notes. So we have configured the scope, we have configured the options for the scope. So we can of course configure DHCP options for our server as well. So if you are interested in more configuring the options for the whole server, not only for your scope, then you can do it by typing the following command. So set DHCP server for options value DnsServer. Here specifying the server, DNS domain, and the router, of course. So let's specify all of this, and now let's check into our DHCP again to visualize what kind of stuff has changed. So if we open, let's go here, let's go to server options, and as you can see the server options have been specified. So we got here the scope options and the server options. Okay, so now let's check DNS options for our server. So if we would go like this, oh sorry, because I actually had here my domain controller specified. We would need to specify the name of our server. So there we go. Here are our options specified for our server. So that's how you check options specified for your server without the GUI, of course. Okay, so now when I actually showed you how it looks from the GUI-ish point of view, now let's go to our server. So let's go to server core. And basically we are gonna do the same kind of stuff here. So first of all, we're gonna install DHCP. So as you can see, a warning has been issued that I don't have a static IP address here, so I will need to go to sconfig, and after this is finished I need to put static IP on for my server. Okay, so everything is a success, so now let's go to sconfig. We're gonna go to the networking, we're gonna change and set the network adapter as static. Okay. Alright. And after all of this, I'm just gonna restart everything. Yep. Okay, so it's restarting. Okay, so almost done. Right. So let's go back to our PowerShell. So I don't know if you noticed, but I'm logged in here as admin. So the same account that I have been logging in in my GUI server. So this is the main administrative account in domain. So basically I'm not logged in as administrator, as a local administrator on a local account. I'm working on a admin account, but from the domain. Okay, so now after installing DHCP, we need to of course install administrator and user groups, or configure them, whichever. So I'm just gonna change here the name of my domain controller. Okay, and now let's actually check. So let's do get. Sorry. So we have only one server authorized right now, the GUIsh one. So now we need to authorize. So basically I found those notes about Active Directory automatically authorizing your DHCP server when it's installed on a domain controller. As you can see, it didn't happen because, well, I read this note from Microsoft and I was quite sure it's actually true. So as you can see, it didn't happen here, so we need to authorize it manually, like I did before. So I'm just gonna, with the previous one, I'm just gonna change the IP address and the name. Okay, and now if we do actually get, we have our two servers authorized, so the domain controller and our GUI server. Okay, so this is done. We got everything authorized, groups are created. Now we need to create the scope. So I'm just gonna copy the same thing and I'm gonna create the same scope that was created in the GUI version. So now we can actually check the scope. If we want to check the scope, I'm just gonna change the name. If it was actually created, so there you go, your scope is created, ScopeId. Now we're gonna specify the options for the scope. So these are my options. I'm just gonna change again the name to my DC01. Okay. And actually now we can specify the lease. So we're gonna create the lease. Of course we can check our options here if they were actually created. Let's go and check them. While we are checking everything, let's check this as well. DHCP server for option volume. Sorry, I forgot. Of course, you need to specify for what you are actually checking the options. My bad. So it should be for DC1. Okay. Right. So and I think I should also specify the scope. So I was missing two variables here. So you need to specify when searching in the name and of course the scope. Yeah, obviously. I'm a dumbass. Okay, so there you go. Here's our lease, the option ID for our lease, and of course the numbers for options taken from the option menu that you have actually specified. Right. Okay. Next we are gonna create actually the lease. So let me just take a look upon my notes. So first of all, I'm just gonna check here in the GUI version because I need one small thing. And that is MAC address. I'm gonna need this MAC address because it's gonna be needed, because when I'm gonna create a lease, so Add-DhcpServer server for lease, I'm specifying the IP address that I want from the lease to be taken. So my lease is from 20 to 30, so I'm taking number 21, and I'm also using the scope, of course. So this is my scope, and I need to specify client ID. Client ID is of course the MAC address of the workstation or server that you're specifying the IP address for. So that's why I wanted to check. So this is the MAC address of my GUI server, and of course the host name of the GUI server. So let's create this particular thing, and now let's check. Let's do get. I'm gonna specify the scope ID. sorry. Okay, so as you can see, for this scope, this IP address has been reserved for this MAC address and for this host name. So let's check if it actually worked. Now we're gonna go into our GUI server. Let's go to the dashboard here, and my IP address was 13, which I specified statically. So now we are just gonna change it to DHCP, and we're gonna see how it actually goes. Okay, so now let's check. So everything seems fine. We got the lease from our DHCP server, from the main DHCP server. So everything is fine. Okay, so let's go to our core. So now if we actually would like to delete this lease, because we want to change it or we want to just get rid of it, this is how you can do it. So you're gonna do remove DHCP for lease, of course, specifying the computer name. So in this case I will need to change it. This is the computer name, this is the scope ID, and of course the client ID needs to be the same. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this. Of course, if you would be interested in removing different leases for different workstations, you could just do it like this. And then paste another one, another one, another one, as many as you wish. And then you can delete like a couple of leases. The same thing with adding them. If you want to add, you just do it by separation and then adding another MAC address, another. You can add it like few of them, like a bulk add. Okay, let's just now remove this. Oh, sorry about that. I made a mistake because I'm not deleting the lease from the GUI server, but from my DHCP server. Sorry. So this was fine. Okay. So the lease has been deleted. If we go now here and we're gonna check this again. Let's go to disable, enable again. Let's go to properties. We're gonna go like here, and as you can see I got no internet connection, so I didn't get anything from here, from the DHCP, so the lease has been vanquished. Now I'm just gonna edit and put it manually, because it should be manually either way, because it's a DHCP server. So it should have a static IP, not one from DHCP. and there we go. Okay, everything is fine. Let's ping. Pings are going, so everything is fine. Okay, so basically this is how you install DHCP on a Windows Server core. These are the options that you can use, and well, I tried to show it from the GUIsh version, so you could have some kind of overview what kind of things are happening when you're using those options. Just remember, like I said, if you are trying to authorize DHCP servers in a domain controller, you need to be logged in the domain, and well, check those memberships of the domain main administrative user in domain, because if sometimes you get some kind of an error while adding and it reads that it has permission problems, maybe you are just lacking some memberships in your memberships tab of the admin account in the domain. So thanks again for watching. As always, like and subscribe if you like the video, help out the channel as much as you can, and as always, spread the knowledge. I will see you soon.